Are you on TikTok anymore? Do you look at that?
Is this the podcast or are you just asking me?
This is the podcast. Welcome, everybody.
Okay.
I said
yes,
welcome
I
anyway.
do.
It's like a itch. It's like a tick. I can't not do it.
Yeah, you can't help it. I do open TikTok once every couple of days. Yes.
I was just going to say I saw one the other day of a flat earth guy that he put in the effort and the money to go to Antarctica and stay there to see for himself if they really had 24-hour sun in whatever season it is that they do. And
Right.
And then he made this video saying, you know what? Sometimes it's okay to admit you were wrong because I really didn't think there was going to be 24-hour sun, and there is.
Really? What a crazy...
But he still said, now that doesn't mean I don't believe in flat earth anymore. So he's probably just going to come up with another reason why that is a thing. But that's what got me thinking about what flat earthers think a year is, because I actually have never even thought about that aspect of it. They're always just talking about how the sun goes around. I actually don't even know. I don't know all of it because it doesn't make sense. That's the thing about a theory that doesn't make sense, is it's hard to even explain.
If I had to guess, they just do, because that's just the problem. I feel like with most of us, myself included, maybe you, I don't know, I don't want to speak for you. When we just like choose to believe things first, right? And then we like work our way backwards from that. So once you've decided that you believe that the earth is flat, it's like...
Yeah, you'll just find reasons.
Right, you didn't work up to that, you know? Like you didn't go to PhD school to work up to that. Most people haven't anyway. I would bet that they just come up with another... Like surely they just think that the seasons are just like the government seeding the weather with cloud chemicals and stuff, right? Like they probably just layer on another conspiracy theory.
Seasons are a conspiracy.
Well, it's just because of, what do they call it? What is that thing? The weather manipulation group that everyone's always talking about?
I don't even know.
I can't remember. It doesn't
matter.
You're
in deeper than I am in this.
Yeah. Well, or maybe, honestly, maybe they just think that like, yeah, of course, because the sun moves further away and closer to the flat Earth, and so they would just add on to it and just. I'm
surprised that they even try very hard to come up with explanations for things, because they do. Because you'll come across videos, and maybe this is showing what side of TikTok I'm on that I'm even seeing this, but you'll come across these videos where they're like explaining the science of flat earth theory, where they have all these like diagrams and stuff about how it works. Yep. And it's funny that they even try to do that, because if you're somebody that thinks the earth is flat and it's like because of God, like God made it that way and he makes the sun go the certain way and whatever, it's like, I can't argue with that if that's what you want to believe. But
exactly,
but it's funny that they actually try to come up with scientific explanations when they don't even really believe in the scientific method in the first place.
Yeah, I think about this sometimes in the context of like, when I make these videos where I'll be like, let's figure out where the bombs dropped in Fallout, or let's figure out how the economy is set up in Mario Sunshine. And everything that I'm saying is completely made up, but I have a method to it. That's only one step removed from, like, I'm pretty sure that when you do a flat earth thing, you're basically doing that, only you're taking one more step and being like, I actually think this is true. It's not that different from like, you're basically writing fan fiction about Earth. And
exactly.
It's like you're not separating.
It is.
No, it is. I really think it is. And there's
is.
some sort of like, the media or something has blurred the lines for you between what you consider theater and what you consider like actually things that are outside, So you just make things up because it's fun. And it gives you like a sense of like, I don't know, maybe not, maybe there's a control. I'm sure someone has actually studied this. I don't know why I'm talking about out of my ass about it. But I really do think there's it's the same, whatever the instinct that I have to generate a bunch of fake theories about the economy of Mario Sunshine is not that different from the instinct to try and explain why the earth is flat,
I guess so, except that you acknowledge that you're doing it for fun rather than...
Right. Yes. But just that the core instinct of just wanting to be
exactly.
like, this is cool.
It's playing.
Cooler.
They're just playing.
We're just playing. Yeah,
but
it's
they're
imagination.
really, really immersed. It's just a question of how immersed you are.
It's they've gone beyond your Andy Kaufman, Charlie Kaufman. I don't know who it is. It's Andy. I don't know who's that guy who pretended everything was not real, but he pretended it was. It doesn't matter. Did you know that this episode's going up on New Year's Eve?
I did, and hence where we are. If you'll notice, there's this beautiful Happy New Year sign, and for anybody not looking at the screen, I'm doing some really incredible things in this martini glass, kicking liquid out of it right now that kind of looks like black congealed blood, but is in fact whatever this alcoholic beverage is that I'm. Yeah. Speaking of being immersed, I'm very immersed in it, and I'm rubbing it all over my body.
Literally digitally immersed. And just for those who aren't watching, I want to clarify. When Mem says martini glass, it is not a martini glass. It's a punch bowl. There's no martini in it. This is punch.
Okay.
She's dancing in some punch.
Yes. Well,
we're not wasting martini juice.
You're
here,
the resident alcohol expert.
Martinis, they stink. I don't like them at all. Olives is what they taste
Isn't
like.
it just? I mean, yeah. First of all, I hate olives. But does it actually taste like olives? Isn't there just one olive in there? Does it contaminate the whole drink?
The olive tastes like olives. The drink itself,
right. Well, you don't have to eat that.
Tastes like pickle juice, olive juice. I don't even know. I honestly I've only had like 2 in my life. And I'm waiting for the day that I enjoy them, but I don't right now. I think they're weird. But I respect the aesthetic of them, like cigarettes. I don't
you
do
respect
that.
The aesthetic,
but I respect the aesthetic of it. I don't recommend it though. I'm not making any recommendations. This is we're at our New Year's party. I like the aesthetic of this zone a lot. I'm gonna quickly
really awesome.
Zoom out and just show people the cars. Oops, I can't mess my camera up too much. Look at the cars that are down there over to the left, provided that we actually do the editing. What does that say? No AP, please.
I don't know what that means either, but don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't AP in here.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'm doing. This seems wrong, what I'm doing right now.
And I don't want to try to figure out what AP stands for in the context of you sitting in a giant tub of
let's not
punch.
But there's really a lot of effort put into this world. Like, they didn't have to put the cars down there for immersion purposes, but they did.
Yeah, I mean, the color coordination is pretty chaotic, like the flowers and then the color of the
color
couches
scheme.
And then the
my
buildings
first thought when I found this room was the colors are not pleasant to look at.
Yeah, but in like a good way, I think. I'm a fan.
Sure.
Personally.
Yeah.
Did you have a good 2024? I don't know. What did you do?
Yeah, well,
we don't actually have to talk about life. We can just segue into the thing that I wanted us to do, if you'd rather.
Right. Well, why don't we talk first? We talked about doing like favorite medias, basically, of the year.
Yeah.
So we can do that first, and then I can get all introspective and overly deep about real life at the end, maybe.
Okay, that'll be your job. I don't want any part of that, but I will listen and be very supportive. Okay, I'm not going to do any complaining or yelling this episode. I promise.
Okay. Awesome.
So yeah, what I wanted to do was just like an end of the year awards. These are our awards for what we liked this year. So we both have categories with things, and you'll have your categories, and I'll do my best to have answers for yours, but I don't know them. And I'll have my categories, and you do your best to have answers for mine.
Sure.
And that's how this will work. So why don't you start with your first category for our 2024 year in review?
Oh, goodness. Okay. I guess I'll start with movies, because I've been thinking about this. And I don't watch as many movies as I wish I did. I see a lot of trailers for things, and I'm like, I should watch that, and then I don't. But I have 2 movies on here that are both very recent that I've seen anyway.
Recency bias, we stand.
Yeah. Not everything on my lists is from this year, but it's like things that I consumed this year. Anyway.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start with Wicked. I loved Wicked.
Everybody does.
And it's like, I'll be fast about it because I'm not saying anything that everybody hasn't already said.
You just have, can you rank all the scenes from best to worst?
Oh, God. Maybe, when the goat goes something bad. That's probably the best
I didn't
part.
like the goat. I was extremely anti the goat. I was glad when they took him away.
Hot take.
I didn't like it. I don't like talking animals. I guess I am Jeff Goldblum in the context of this movie. I just don't like him.
No, I mean, yeah, I was joking because that's the one annoying song in the musical. I think every musical needs, or I don't know if it needs it, but every musical does have one annoying song. And
you know what I
the
wish?
one
I
where
wish
the
every
goat
musical
sings is the annoying one in that.
I wish every musical had one good song, but unfortunately, that's just not the case.
Well,
that's
listen,
the only
it's not
one.
for
That's the
you, and
only
that's
thing.
okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed Wicked. I found it perfectly tolerable.
But you
and
don't think
quite
it had
nice
one good
at
song?
moments. No, I think it has 3 good songs. That's my opinion about Wicked. It has 3 good songs.
Which
and
ones?
Then 6 songs that were basically a waste of time. Like all the hits, honestly, or the ones that ended up taking off, I think are the ones that also are most effective in the context of the musical.
Mm-hmm.
So like Popular, Defying Gravity, and the one where she's like, I just hate you so much, whatever that song is.
Loathing.
Loathing, yeah, that's the one.
Well, it's called,
But again,
What Is This Feeling? But it could also be called Loathing.
Should be, yeah. So, but I'm never gonna be. I haven't learned how to love them. Like it's like a martini, But I'll get there.
A huge part of it is that I love singing, and so I love to play a musical in my house and sing at the top of my lungs for the whole thing, which is why I'm excited for it to come out like digitally or on DVD or whatever, so that I can play it in my house, because I've only been able to go to the theater, and it's been so long. It's been about 2 weeks since I've seen Wicked last, and I'm like feeling withdrawals like a drug addict. I need to go again.
You can listen to the music, right? That's out.
Well, yes, I've been listening to the soundtrack. Don't even worry about that.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It's not as good.
But yeah, I really liked the movie. I really like pretty movies. It's like, it's pretty visually. It's pretty to listen to. Like I said, I think everybody has said how relatable the story is to everybody or whatever, because it's like a very universal story, right? About like finding yourself and breaking free from society or whatever.
And how Southerners are racist.
Yeah, sure.
There was that whole scene where they brought out that guy who came in, and it was the only guy with a Southern accent in the whole movie. And he was like, I just hate these animals.
Oh, I didn't really notice that. I didn't really notice the accent, but I guess you're right.
Yeah, he was just like a Confederate soldier, basically.
That's true.
Like, oh, yeah, see? So there's themes is the point.
Yeah. And, I mean, we could talk about the accents in the movie because it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because there's like mostly people are American, kind of. But then, and Cynthia Erivo is British, but I think she's doing an American accent in this. But then Jonathan Bailey Fierro is kind of just speaking British, right? Isn't he? It's like,
I don't know who that is.
He's the handsome prince guy.
The guy who's dating Ariana in real life.
No, that's that's Ethan Slater with the red hair. That's the Munchkin guy.
Just a little joke for my pop culture fans. Just a little joke for you.
Anyway, Fierro in the movie, I think, is still speaking in his British accent. So I don't know. It's fantasy. I guess it doesn't have to be consistent.
It's all taking place in Dorothy's head, right? At least according to the first film, right? It's like her passed out. And so all of this is within that context too.
But Wicked is not canon Wizard of Oz. Wicked is fan fiction of Wizard of Oz. So
now, is that true?
Yeah. Like the
who
book
says
was not
who's in charge of the canon?
Well, because it was written by a
no.
different person.
I know that. I understand, but I'm saying do people consider it canon? Like Fantastic Beasts wasn't written by what's her face, but it's still. Oh, was it? Well, okay. Hogwarts Legacy was not written by what's her face, but I assume it's still canon. Like it's part of the.
Well, because she's alive
world.
And she approved it. Whoever wrote Wizard of Oz was like long gone by the time Wicked was a thing. So I would not say.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm considering canon to be like what the original creator was like aware of and approved of.
Okay, fair enough. You know, it is what it is. Well, he was probably dead by the time the movie came out, though. Because he wrote it in like 1899. You know?
Surely, yeah.
So is the movie not canon?
I don't know. We don't have to get into it. Anyway.
All right, continue.
I really liked it. I cry when I see it because it's very like, because I relate it to like academia, right? Because I was like going to get a PhD and I was going to change the world from the inside. That's kind of the battle between Galinda and Elphaba, is like Galinda is kind of almost like becoming woke by the end, but she still thinks that there's a possibility of staying within the system and changing things, versus Elphaba's like just over it. She's like, I'm done, I'm leaving.
Yeah, and look how that went.
So I ended up going Elphaba mode because I decided not to do the PhD and not to...
don't go near any suspicious buckets of water.
Yeah, well, I'm like avoiding spoilers for the second movie. I'm like curious about the whole bucket of water thing, but...
well, you saw The Wizard of Oz.
Yes, I know what happens in The Wizard of Oz, but I'm pretty sure it's different in Wicked.
Okay. Well, then that makes me more curious, because I assumed...
And I've even seen... I saw
2.
Wicked, like the Broadway production when it was touring when I was a kid. So like I technically know the story somewhere in my mind, but I don't remember it, and I'm trying not to on purpose because I want to wait for the movie. Anyway, so there's that. The other movie that I want to talk about is Wonka, which I just watched a few days ago with Timothée Chalamet. And
I saw your tweet about it, and I was like, there's no way this is serious, but maybe it is.
It was just extremely awesome. Here's the thing, is I have the same attitude about all media that I do about video games, which is that I don't judge them on goodness. I judge them on how much fun I had watching them.
Okay.
And
it's reasonable.
Wonka was just extremely awesome. I can't even explain it. I was laughing out loud at like the whole thing the whole time. And it's so hard to even explain why. It's like the acting was definitely strange. Like, no hate to Timothée Chalamet, loved you in Dune. I think he does a good like brooding character from what I've heard. Because he was also in Little Women. He was great in Little Women. Wonka, I don't know if he really decided on a vibe for Wonka. It seemed like he kind of had a different vibe every sentence and every scene.
That does sound kind of funny.
Everything just added to the experience. There were just some line deliveries that were either like way out of left field. Like the one that I tweeted was like, she'll be blessed to see an ankle, she'll be pleased to see your knees, but if you want to make her sigh, show some thigh. That's a thing that Wonka says in the movie.
I thought that was a joke when I saw you posted that.
He 100% says that, and I screamed when he said that in the movie. I was dying.
Huh.
So, it's just...
Is it a musical?
It is a musical, which just makes it even better. All the lyrics to the songs are, like... could have been written by me as a 4th grader. Like, really extremely basic.
Okay, you're winning me back.
Like, the lyrics are so basic, it's actually kind of funny that... I kept saying through the movie, I was like, how did this get to the point where it is where they put this much budget into it and they had Timothée Chalamet and like how did this script make it this far? Anyway, especially with the music. It was really clear that they were trying to make it a tribute to the original, like, Gene Wilder Willy Wonka movie.
Okay. Was it scary like that movie was?
No, that's the thing I was going to kind of get into, is that the Gene Wilder one, there's, like, this wackiness to the character, but there's, like, underlying darkness through the whole thing that makes it like way more interesting and like seem like deeper of a story than it could have been, because they could have just made it like a silly kids movie, but somehow it like really sticks with you because of this. I mean, a lot of it is just the acting, like just in like close-ups of his face and stuff. It's like you can tell there's something going on with this guy.
It feels like this is what they kind of lose or gain depending on what you prefer, but like with the Johnny Depp one and with, it sounds like with Wonka, it's like, it seems like with those movies they said Willy Wonka is a freak, and he is a freak. Whereas in the first movie it was like, he's acting like a freak, but he's a person and he's thinking, but he's performing like a freak. And in the ones after that, they were like, no, he actually just is straight up like an absolute lunatic, and he's really weird. So they took kind of different approaches in that way.
Yeah, so this is like, Wonka is a tribute to that movie by somebody that like only saw the surface level silliness and the fact that there are songs in the movie.
Okay. You're losing me again.
Well,
it's like, listen, I'm going back and forth on
this
whether
this movie lost me and gained me back about 10 times while I was watching it, and that's why it was so fun.
That does sound fun.
But yeah, it's in the same category for me as Mission Impossible. I love Mission Impossible with my whole heart.
The first one, or just all of them?
All of them. I have so much fun watching them. Like, I don't have fun watching any movie like I do all the Mission Impossibles.
The only one I've seen is it wasn't even a reboot because I know it's all the same thing, but like the first new one they made, it was like Ghost Protocol is what it was called.
There is one of them that is like not that good because they're trying to do a James Bond thing and the plot is too complicated, and it's not, Mission Impossible is not supposed to be about plot. And I don't even remember which one that is. Isn't there one more coming out? Like one final one? But they got good again, yeah. And there's another one coming out that's supposed to actually be the last one, but I feel like they've been saying they're going to end it forever. I personally hope they keep making them until Tom Cruise is like on his deathbed.
Do you think he's attractive? Do you find Tom Cruise attractive?
Not at all, no.
Really? Not even in those movies?
Maybe like really young Tom Cruise. Not
like
really, though.
11 or like 18?
18.
Okay, got it.
No, not even really. I don't know. He's not my type. He's got an evil look in his eye.
He does. He's got that Willy Wonka look in his eyes.
Anyway, so highly recommend Wonka if you love a good time and you don't take life too seriously.
Okay.
But yeah, the Gene Wilder one, and that is his name, right? I just like thought of that.
That is his name.
That is his name. Underlying darkness in that one is very much like kind of a theme of some other things I was going to talk about, which is that like silliness is earned, is what I wrote, which is that a lot of goofy people have, which I would say including me, have earned that from going through a bunch of shit and coming out the other side and deciding to be that.
Yeah, this is what people speak about with Vincent van Gogh. It's like one of the things people say why he was such a beautiful artist is he made like really sad paintings and like weird depressing paintings for a long time because he was. And eventually he was like, you know what? I'm going to paint really happy things. And it was through that he like earned his like whatever thing, you know, like it's not quite silly, but like in the same vein of like, you take a step out of it and you go, actually, you know, I'm going to commit to levity and into joy, and it's going to be informed by all of this. Right.
I just think there's an interesting thing that happens where like what a lot of people would perceive as naive, it's actually like you start out naive as a kid, right? And then you, in a lot of cases, you go through life and then come back around to the conclusion that kind of childlike wonder and naive appearing thing is actually kind of like what life is about. Anyway.
Yeah, it's your Saturn return, right?
I guess so.
There you go. I know about that.
Anyway, I feel like I've been talking forever. I feel like you should say something. Did you have something to say about movies?
Well, I'll bring up a category that you may have an answer to as well. The only category I could do movie related was the movie that I think would have been my favorite movie if I watched movies. And so this is just based on trailers I've seen. Now, I did watch this year, I did see Dune, which I did think was good. And I did see Wicked, which I thought was all right. I think probably if I watched a movie, my favorite movie would have been The Brutalist, starring Adrian Brody. Because I saw a trailer for it, and let me tell you this. It's a bunch of people. I hear you typing. Yeah, look it up. It's a bunch of people just like, it looks like not too much happens. And it's a bunch of people talking, and it has Adrian Brody in it. Who doesn't like looking at Adrian Brody? My guess is that if I saw that movie,
So you
that would
think
have been
he's
my
attractive
favorite
is what
movie.
I'm hearing.
I enjoy looking at him. I don't know. You know what? I think I do think he's attractive, actually. I think I do. He is, right? Is he not?
Sure.
Okay, not Tom Cruise, not Adrian Brody. I don't even want to know. It's that goat, probably. So I think I would have, if I had a favorite movie, it probably would have been that. What is it about? I don't know, and I don't care. It looks like, I like movies where it's just like, they set up a camera and it's just people talking and like there's drama in it, but it's not, I mean, I don't even know, honestly. I don't even know why I'm talking like this is what that movie's going to be, because I don't know. I think it's playing in a little theater here. They're bringing it in for like one night in like a week. So it's possible that by the next podcast, I'll actually be able to tell you if my prediction was correct.
Yeah, you could go see it, or you could just keep it a mystery, because as far as you know, you love it right now. Maybe it'll ruin it if you actually see it.
I think it's good to keep it a mystery, but also you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I feel like I make a lot of assumptions about my own beliefs.
Right. I love your willingness to commit to a favorite thing that you have no idea about. It's really brave.
And normally
of you.
I would just commit to it. But you have to check and make sure that you know yourself, because I might go see it and think it's horrible, in which case I have to reassess, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's my pick for a movie that would have been my favorite if I had seen it. And I don't know, were there any movies you wanted to see this year that you didn't?
So many. I mean, I like movies. I like watching movies. But I just don't get around to it because I'm spending too much time editing YouTube videos.
Ain't that the truth? You want to talk, can we talk best favorite games that we played this year?
Yes.
Doesn't have to be games that came out this year, but if you have one, I don't play games that come out when they come out. You know what I mean?
No, me neither.
It doesn't happen that often. So I think the only two games I played this year that came out this year were 1,000 Times Resist on the Switch and UFO 50.
I don't know what 1,000 Times Resist is.
It's like a kind of anime vibes visual novel. It was, I thought, absolutely incredible. Just a great story. It's one of those games that when you start it, at least for me, because I'm a hater, I hear the people talk and I'm like, this is embarrassing. But by the end of it, they've
what do you think was embarrassing about it?
They just talk like anime people, and I just they use weird words.
It's an interesting
whenever you watch
aesthetic.
A show and they're
they're
using it's kind of like a bad, it's ugly. It's a little bit of an ugly game.
Say. There's a picture in here that has the same color scheme as this chat room we're in right now, which is not.
Yeah,
very
it's
pleasant.
real low budget vibes. But yeah, I don't think I've had to reassess portions of my own heart through a video game in a while, probably since Earthbound or something like that. And 1,000 Times Resist definitely has things in there where you're like, oh God, they're getting at some really difficult, irreconcilable things about human existence, which is, it's amazing because when you start the game, you're like, this is cringe. But they get all the way there. That was amazing. Mm-hmm. But the best game I played this year was Barbuda, which is one of...
I've seen you tweeting about this every day.
Yes, every day. It's one of the 50 games within UFO 50.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about UFO 50?
I know the concept. I haven't played it.
Yeah, so it's these 50 games that came out, quote unquote, from 1983 to 1988 or something on this fictional console. I've only played 3 of the 50 games, and this UFO 50 is one of the best games I've ever played forever. Barbuda is I described it once to someone as the best version of one of those really bad games you would have played on an NES, those games that don't tell you anything about what's going on. Mm-hmm. There's no feedback on the screen when you hit enemies, so you don't even know if you're hurting them. It doesn't tell you how to solve any puzzles, but it's the absolute worst that a game could be while still being incredible. And I just totally adored it. So it's kind of like a Metroidvania-y, but really slow. Mm-hmm. And when you die, when you lose your lives, you start all the way from the beginning again.
I've seen it because I looked up some footage when I saw you tweet about it for the 5th time. Yeah. I was let me see what this even is. So I get the vibe.
Totally tickled me.
Yeah.
Like it took me straight back to like everything that I love about playing video games. And it probably helps that like I had played NES growing up a lot, but Barbuda, goated video game. Every single game in that collection that I say I've only played 3, but I think I've probably technically opened like 10 of them. Every single one is like the most creative and unique version of the game that it is. So it's not just like tribute game. You know, you play games that are like tribute games to old games. It's not that. Yeah. These are like steps beyond. Like every single one of these games would have been like a game that people talked about as like one of the greatest games of all time if it had come out in the time they came out. It's amazing. UFO 50 is like cool. Crazy good. So love it so much. It makes me want to play it again. What do you got for games this year? Anything good? Playing a lot of Genshin? You played Zelda.
I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. I actually wasn't going to talk about that, but I could.
It's a great game.
It's good. Yeah, I don't really... That's like something I definitely don't have anything new to say about, because everybody has said everything possible about that game. But I'm finally getting around to it because I was just waiting forever for a time when I could actually like binge it, because that's what I did with Breath of the Wild, is I played it like every day for like a few months and finished it. And I didn't want to have to, because we were like moving across the country and all this stuff, and I was like busy with other things. I didn't want to be like splitting up Tears of the Kingdom across different time periods. So I've been like actually playing it all the time, and it's really fun. That's all there is to say about it, really.
There you go.
I do notice that a lot of things that people talk shit about with games like Genshin are present in Zelda, but people don't say that they're bad things. So like the whole fact that I guess I think a lot of people don't like that there's so many things you have to collect in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but in general people still think they're great games. But,
people don't complain about it. That's true. Yeah.
Like in Genshin, everybody talks about, there's like 50 different currencies for all these different things. Which really just means there's like a bunch of different systems to level up. But that happens in Tears of the Kingdom too, because you have like the regular goddess statues, and you have like the dark version of that, like in the in the Nether. What the fuck is it called? In the underground?
Yeah, the Nether. In hell. Just in hell.
In hell. There's a lot of different systems that you're leveling up in Tears of the Kingdom too. You have your battery, your hearts, your stem, like whatever.
Yeah, it's annoying as heck.
So I don't know. I just think it's funny. There's like certain things that
people
don't complain about because it's Zelda and it's iconic and everybody loves it. And
so that's you don't think it's a bias against Genshin. You think it's a bias for just the fact that it's like Zelda.
I mean, both, I guess. I think there's a bias against Genshin because it's like an anime waifu game, which is valid in some ways, but it's not as bad as others. Anyway, so I actually haven't even played Genshin. Genshin is like what I would say maybe is my favorite game of all time. But because I've gotten so into it and like into the lore and everything. But I actually haven't played that in like months because I've been doing Tears of the Kingdom. I like to play one game at a time and like get really into it.
I respect that. I think that's good.
But for other games I was just going to mention, I finally played Tomb Raider 1, which was a lot of fun. I streamed that. And because I consider myself a Tomb Raider fan, but I never played through the first one. So I played the remaster and I get it now. Like I tried to play it years ago and couldn't get a hold of the controls and was like, this is annoying and stupid. But partially thanks to the updated controls, I finally got through it. And like, it's a different vibe than the newer ones, obviously. It's a lot more of a puzzle. Like the platforming itself is a puzzle because there's like, you have like a short jump and a long jump and like all these different like button combinations to like jump and grab in specific ways. And like, there's like certain parts of the platforming where you can only do one specific move to get through it. And I think that's really cool. And I don't think that I've really played anything else like that. And so I get the hype now about the original Tomb Raiders. I think it's really fun. And then I wanted to mention Talos Principle 2 because I think I've like tweeted about this or something, but I haven't gone on my whole rant, I think, in like a voice form or on my streams about Talos Principle 2. Speaking,
I don't even know what this is.
you should play both. Anybody listening that hasn't played either. The original Talos Principle is a puzzle game, kind of like Portal vibes, I guess, as far as like stages of puzzles that you're going through. And the first one is much more kind of straightforward, going through a bunch of levels. And it's a puzzle game mixed with philosophy. So the whole thing is that you're like doing some puzzles and then you go up to this computer and the computer is like teaching you philosophy and asking you philosophical questions, and then everything kind of ends up relating to the story. And it's like a sci-fi story. It's like philosophical sci-fi, which is like my favorite thing.
Is it when they say philosophy, is it like, are you going out to the computer and it's like, here's a quote from Aristotle, or is it like made up stuff? No, so it's literally like philosophy 101, like it's course real stuff, like real stuff. It's
real philosophy, but it's interactive and it's asking you about what you believe, and then it's challenging you over and over and over again until you like actually figure out what you believe. And that's fun. In between all these atmospheric puzzles. So
you know who should play that is all those people who were trying to talk about innocent until proven guilty, like we were talking about last week.
Everybody should play it in general.
To go test their philosophical beliefs.
The first one is really good. I binged that one like years ago. The second one came out, I didn't even know it was coming out until it was already out, which was awesome for me because I didn't have to wait. The second one actually has a story with characters in it, which I was kind of skeptical about in the beginning because the first one is it's the kind of game where you're like totally immersed as yourself, and it's just like you in this like silent world, like thinking.
This looks sweet. I'm looking up. This reminds me of, it's like crazy, like Greek myth meets sci-fi, kind of like, it gives me like, the puzzle type gives me like The Witness vibes. I don't know if you ever played The Witness, but
yes,
another great game.
I love The Witness. That one was
amazing.
So fun too.
People do not talk about that game enough.
It was really good.
So, I think it's partially because like the guy who made it's kind of a jerk, but
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah,
anyway,
he's just annoying.
Because you were saying that other game you were talking about, like really kind of can change your worldview.
Yes,
Talos Principle 2, like literally changed my life. And I'm
I'm gonna have to play it.
I'm so hesitant to even say that because I think there's like an ego part of me that wants to say like, I can already figure out my own thoughts without like, no media is going to change me because I already know what I believe and like, or I can figure it out myself. But I don't know.
That's what everyone likes to think, but it's never true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we all like to think that like, well, if I just think hard, I'll figure it out, you know?
Which can be true, but a lot of the time you need an external input. Anyway, I think both the games together, you really should play 1 and 2. It gets you to new understanding in like a really, honestly, like a educationally valid way, right? Like I studied education as part of my grad school. Mm-hmm. It really like takes the steps to lead you to your own conclusions really, really well. It's just like incredible. I can't even believe the writing in these games, like across both the games. I like immediately went and followed all the writers and creators on everything after I finished the second one because I was like, this is like such a brilliant piece of art that happens to be part of a puzzle game. So it's like if you don't like puzzle games, you're just missing out on this like really incredible, beautiful piece of art that exists. Like it's crazy, but that's also really cool at the same time because it's like you wouldn't expect that from a video game.
Do you generally think that like, I always think there's something really, I don't know exactly what it is yet, and I've never heard anyone like really elucidate it, but there's something about being made to solve puzzles or like play a game while synthesizing information that I like really gets it down into your marrow.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's just so cool. It's like stuff that if you read it in a book, you'd be like, whatever, dude. If you do it in that context of like playing a game, it just like clicks in such a different way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because like they're like half distracting you by having you play a game. So like your shields are down, you know, and they can get the philosophy through the beams.
Well, so it's definitely a real thing that like, so one of the things that they would tell us in my education classes is, and I don't know about the number, like putting numbers to these things. This could vary for different people in different situations. But one thing they say is if you're giving a typical 1 hour lecture, people can only remember 7 main points from that. So you have to figure out how to like boil down what you're teaching into only like working under the assumption that people are only going to walk away with like a few main ideas, and you can't just like try to cram their heads with a million things in a limited amount of time. And then you need time in between to like store those things in long-term memory. So that's definitely...
That's good. That's YouTuber advice too, I feel like.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
If you're the type of person who does content like about like stuff. Because that does, I feel like that's a huge problem. I literally just did. That's a big problem with people who do these like video essays that are like 6 hours long, is it's just thing. And it just goes and goes and goes. And you're like, this was relaxing for me to listen to. I don't have any sense of what I've taken from it in a deeper way. YouTubers need to learn that. They need to take more from academic lecturers is what I'm saying, I think. Good ones, though, because I'm sure there's so many bad lecturers.
Oh, definitely. Don't even get me started about that. But
next week, maybe.
Anyway, so I think that's definitely a good point that, like, learning about these philosophical ideas and having these, like, deep introspective moments in between just solving a puzzle for an hour that you can't figure out is, like, it's giving you time to introspect, right? It's like what therapists say about, like, if you... It's usually helpful if you're the type of person that doesn't process your feelings very much to just, like, go on a silent walk all the time so that you have time to actually, like, kind of passively think about things and store them in your brain.
Yeah, that's probably part of what it is. I mean, I love that. I might now, if there's a 0% chance that I'm going to play both of these games, is it okay if I just play the second one?
You probably could, because they set up the first few levels are kind of like going over the puzzle mechanics of the first one. I really would recommend both of them, but the second one is definitely like better in every way.
So, all right, I'm gonna look it up and see if it's available on the Xbox. I'll get the first one.
It's really incredible, and it's really genuinely, that's the first thing I would recommend if you're feeling a little bit hopeless in the current world. I know, like, a lot of things are scary and going to shit, and it literally gave me faith in humanity in a different kind of perspective than I ever had before. So, all
right. So, I'm gonna play it. Can I bring up another category?
Yes. Sorry.
This can be my last category, I think, because I have this is my last category, and I do want an answer from you on this category as well. So you can think while I talk. I want to talk about what was the best news event involving an airplane in 2024. I would like to speak, because I think there's an obvious one, you know, that we're all thinking of here, right?
Right.
I don't want to talk about that one.
Okay.
But that obviously
that's off the table.
Alaska Airlines 1282, where the door blew off. You know, we're all thinking of that. It was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. That obviously that wasn't good. But I would like to give my shout out to HopAJet Flight 823, which, if you recall, you may not, and this is earnest. I know I'm sounding like I'm being sarcastic and like just doing a bit, and it is a bit, but I mean it. This was the coolest news event involving airplanes. So here's what happened. People chartered a private jet. There's like 3 passengers, a flight attendant, and 2 pilots. So these are like really rich people, so who gives a shit? But I know that like now is not the time to be like, oh no, the people are crashing their private planes. But we're speaking about the actions of the pilots, okay? So HopAJet Flight 823 is flying from somewhere to somewhere, who cares? They're coming into land. All the engines break all at once, right? they're just gliding. They're not going to make it to the runway. This is not a good situation to be in. They're maybe 1,500 feet in the air. That's you probably have 30 seconds before and planes, they glide pretty well. So it's amazing that you even have 30 seconds when the engines disappear, but it's not long. They're not going to make it to the runway. So
do you know what caused all the engines to go out at the same time?
They're still investigating it. So they don't have like a definitive answer. It's definitely possible that the report will come out and they'll be like, yeah, the pilots just accidentally turned off the engine. So,
I was going to say somebody just accidentally kicked a button or something.
That I think there was another flight earlier this year where that was the cause. The two pilots on this particular flight were like very experienced, had flawless careers, and had like one of them had like just retired from the airlines and was just doing this on the side. Doesn't mean that they couldn't have made a mistake, and it still could come out that there was a mistake. But I still think that their actions deserve some recognition. Both of them are dead now, so but they're not going to make the runway. They're flying a private jet. They're not going to make the runway. It's rush hour. And the pilots go, the only place we can land is on this highway. It's rush hour. There's footage of this. You can look this up.
Wow.
So they say, we're going to try to land. They tell the air traffic controllers, we're not going to make the runway. We're going to try to land it on Interstate 75. So this must have been Florida, maybe? No, 75. I don't know my highways. Whatever it was. They come into land, they get the plane down. Right before they land on the highway, they sort of like dive it off to the right so that they don't hit any cars. And they land on the side of the highway. They're going pretty fast on account of it's an airplane. And they like hit some shit, and the plane flips over and it explodes in a giant fireball.
Oh,
and the pilots die.
Oh my God.
But because they brought it down the way they did, and they made the decisions the way they did, and they flew the plane all the way down to the ground. They avoided traffic. They didn't kill any people in traffic. This is rush hour on an interstate. They didn't kill anybody who was in traffic. And the way that they flew it, the way they crashed, all three of the passengers, because of the actions of the flight attendant also played a big role in this, snuck them out through the baggage compartment before they all burned up. All the passengers survived. So the two pilots died, passengers survived.
Oh my God.
I think that's just an amazing, for me, as someone who loves people who fly planes, that's an amazing representation of like, the pilot's job is to, if you walk away from a landing and the people are alive, it's a good landing. And if the plane is still usable, it's a great landing. In this case, the plane was not still usable, so we'll just call it a good landing. But it's just amazing. There's footage of this. You can watch it. It like comes down. It's a big old private plane coming out on I-75. It's amazing. Are you watching the footage right now? Hoppajet Flight 823. It's not like graphic footage. I mean, you see in a giant fireball, but it's a pretty remarkable thing that they managed not to hit, not to kill anybody. I think they nudged somebody's Jeep or something with the plane.
Oh no!
But they managed not to kill a single person other than themselves, which is like speaks a lot to the way that they worked the problem and flew the plane. So good for them. Shout out to those two people. If it comes out that they were the cause of it, I still think you get credit for. You've got 30 seconds, to figure this out and to get the plane on the ground.
Yeah, that's so scary.
It's a pretty amazing thing. So I don't know if you've got a candidate for this particular category.
Gosh.
But that's mine. Did you take any harrowing flights this year, maybe? You could, one of those?
Did I take any
you
heroin?
Have a good experience? Oh,
I'm not going to talk about that on the pod.
You have a good experience with a flight attendant this year, maybe, that you want to shout out?
I know I should have thought harder about an answer while you were talking, but I was too captivated by the story.
I'm sure you would have said Alaska Flight 1282, where the door blew off. I'm sure, it was not fair of me to take that one off the table, because I'm sure that's what you would have gone for.
Yeah, I really liked when the door blew off. I thought that was really cool.
Pretty crazy, right? Did someone get sucked out, or was that was the Southwest flight like 2 years ago?
There was some flight where somebody almost got sucked out and then got pulled back in or something. I don't know.
There was an old flight once where they were flying, they were at 37,000 feet or whatever. And in the pilot zone, the window blew out and one of the pilots got sucked out. but the other pilot grabbed onto his legs.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, and they just held him, and he was just sitting. He was out. He was just getting frostbite.
Oh my God!
While he was hanging out
Horrible.
the plane, he passed out, but he survived. So they did it. They got him down. Pretty crazy. Must have been loud.
Speaking of Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise hangs onto the side of a plane in one of those.
True. I heard that he would go and leave from the set in his own personal fighter plane from World War II. He would just land in the morning and get out, and then he'd get back in and fly off into the sunset every night, which is so
He's
funny.
a cartoon character. He's not a real person.
Have you ever heard that audio of Harrison Ford? You know how like when you're at an airport, you've got the runway, which is where you're supposed to land, and then you have like all the roads, the taxiways on the sides that you like get around, and he just landed on a taxiway after being cleared to land on a runway. Have you ever? And there's like audio of it where he's talking to the air traffic, and they were like, you just, they were like, whatever his name was, like Cessna 172, you just landed on taxiway, Charlie. And there's this long pause, and he just goes, really? They go, yeah.
Like he just didn't realize?
Yeah, he was like, oh, okay. And then they were like, they got to take his phone number down and stuff like that. But it's just really, he didn't get in trouble though, because he basically just explained what happened and said, I saw this, I saw that. And they were like, all right, well, don't do that again. And he hasn't since, so I guess it worked, but...
All right.
Pretty funny.
Hey.
All right, you have any other categories you want to go over today?
I could talk about music a little bit. It might be boring, but...
How boring?
How boring, you said?
Yeah, we'll make it fun.
I just wanted to mention some albums that I liked that didn't end up in my... Because I always post my, like... I use YouTube Music, first of all, so hate on me if you like. But,
no, that's a good... YouTube Music's the best.
Well, because it comes with YouTube Premium, which I like anyway, because I don't see ads
YouTube Premium's also... People will never get me to say that YouTube Premium is not like the most incredible deal in streaming. It's my personal opinion.
It's awesome, because people are always telling me, hey, did you see that YouTube ad that's crazy? And I'm like, nope, never seen it.
Never will. Never have, never will.
Don't ever see them. Saves so much of my time. Every time I... have to like use a different computer and an ad shows up on a YouTube video, I'm like pissed.
Yeah, I want to throw up. I'm debating buying premium for all the people I interact with, just so if I'm ever at their house,
right? Like somebody shows me a YouTube video on their phone and they're like, "Oh, I got to let the ad play first." I'm like, I can't relate.
What is this horrible?
Can't relate to that.
Way too bright video that I'm now watching without my consent.
It's just the worst.
And also, do you know they have like movies on YouTube, like it's like Netflix. They have their own little Netflix with free movies. It's like some, but there's like a lot.
This is an advertisement for YouTube Premium.
Listen, I shouldn't be doing it because I'll take the money, because I'll tell you, you can watch like The Mummy for free on YouTube Premium.
Right?
Like,
you were just talking about The Mummy.
Just talking about The Mummy.
Is that how you watched it on YouTube?
Exactly. You thought I paid for that crap?
Wow.
No way. We watched that on YTP.
Incredible.
Anyway, music. What do you got?
Anyway, so I post my like rewind or whatever they call it on YouTube Music, where they like show you your top. It's like Spotify Wrapped, basically. But I feel like it's always, I listen to music really obsessively. So I like get into an album and I listen to just that over and over for like a month.
Same. I'm the same way.
So the stuff, there's always like no variety in my like top songs and albums on the thing. So I just wanted to talk about like other things that I also listen to a lot, but they just didn't happen to make it on there. The top album that actually was my top album that I posted was Aurora's new album, What Happened to the Heart. Love that one.
I've heard she's lovely.
I can tell this is like her healing album, like she like went to therapy and figured stuff out, and it's like I relate a lot to a lot of the songs. It's like the self-discovery album.
We can put a pin in this, but I want to come back to this someday. Which life experience album is the best albums? Like there's like the post-therapy album, there's like the breakup album, the I'm falling in love album, there's the like my child died album or something. Like which life experience breeds the best albums? You know, that's what I want to know. Vote now.
Right. Well, best is subjective, and I think that would depend on what stage you're currently in life. But so I relate a lot to the songs in this period of my life is what I was going to say. And I wanted to shout out I've been really into like girly pop rock that reminds me of like how I felt listening to Avril Lavigne when I was a kid. Avril Lavigne's first album was the first CD I ever got when I was like really young.
Was that Complicated or is that something else?
It's called Let Go, and Complicated is on it, I think.
Oh, okay, got it. But maybe it's the one with her standing on the cover in the street.
Yeah. And in hindsight, some of the songs are so funny because like, what was she even talking about? She was 16.
Yeah.
She has this, like, I actually still don't even really understand what the song is about. I'm With You, where she's like,
I'm with you.
I don't know who you are, but like she's talking about standing outside in the rain and some random person picks her up. Like, I still don't understand what's going on in that song.
That is a crazy thing to say is, I don't know who you are, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. Holy cow. So hopefully that was not based on a true story.
A lot of the lyrics don't make sense. It's definitely like a teen angst kind of thing where like you're like writing stuff in your journal when you're 16 that you actually don't have the life experience to back up, but you just like feel brooding and angsty.
Was she writing them or did she have like a team? Do we know?
She was writing them.
Not that it changes anything, but...
I mean, I'm sure she had maybe people helping her, but she was definitely writing them mostly, I think.
Yeah. And
then she wrote a bunch of... I mean, like, Avril Lavigne's influence in the early 2000s was, like, huge. She, like, created that sound of, like... Then all these, like, Disney stars and stuff, like Hilary Duff, were, like, basically trying to emulate the Avril Lavigne sound. And she ended up writing a lot of songs for these girls. Like, all the kind of kid stars at the time, girls, were coming out with albums that sounded like Avril Lavigne, and she was writing a bunch of them.
That I didn't know. Huh.
Anyway, I think part of my, like, reconnecting with my inner child lately, I've been, like, wanting more of that type of music. And so Carol Addis just came out with her first album called Late Start, which is, like, so reminds me of that. It's, like, so fun to, like, blast in my car and sing and, like...
Who's that? Like Carol what?
Carol Addis. So the last name is just Ades.
I can't believe there's someone named Carol in the year 2024.
She's awesome. I went to her concert in Portland, and it was teeny tiny, tiniest venue I've ever been to. It was like 100 people. It was like basically at a bar. Like, I don't even know. And I talked to her after, and she was super nice.
Fun.
And then the other one is Rachel Chinariri. Her album is called What a Devastating Turn of Events. That also gives me that feeling and is like just so fun. I don't know.
Rachel, I gotta look these people up. You're informing me. Well, that's a great name for an album.
She's British.
Oh, don't care. No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, I wanted to shout them out because those are just like such good albums and like just feel good. I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of, I feel like, other girls my age that have like made some realizations recently. That's the theme of the music I've been listening to.
That's Saturn Return. It hits everyone like a truck.
So.
Okay.
I
think it's really funny that like the one thing that we reverse roles on is astrology. That's the one thing that I'm like whimsically uncritical of, and you're like, you don't like it. And in every other case, well, maybe not every other case, but you know what I'm saying. It's like we're the opposite. But it's like when it comes to that.
I think it's fine if you believe that. I have no issues.
Well, I don't not believe it, but I wouldn't say, I don't believe it in the same way that I believe gravity, but I do believe it in the same way that I believe... We can talk about this another day.
Finish your sentence. I'm curious.
Well, because it's not actually, I have to go back and talk, because I have a lot of thoughts about what I think is so great about something like astrology, but also like many other things. And it's just like this whole tirade that I'm going to go on, and I just don't feel like doing it right now. Ask me about it another day.
All right, fine. But I think it's fine, like, for people to find meaning in anything if it like brings them to some kind of realization about themselves. Exactly. I think that's fine.
Stories are important for us.
Sure.
They're so important.
Yes, absolutely. And I personally am able to find meaning in stories without also believing it's true.
But
That's
you don't.
all.
Yes, I agree. But the conclusions, it leads you to the truth. This is what stories do, right? They lead you to truth. And sometimes there's an argument to be made that, like, even unless it's harmful, which sometimes it can be, even discussing the fact that the underlying material isn't true, it's like the placebo effect, you know? You, like, have to believe it in order to believe it. Anyway, we could talk about it another time.
Okay.
Great.
And that was all your categories?
I mean, my other categories were like the best very end of a movie that I watched this year, or very beginning. Because sometimes if I don't have time to watch movies, I'll just like watch the last 20 minutes of a bunch of movies just so I can
skip to the very end? That's insane.
Well, I want to be able to like say that I watched it. And if you don't know what the ending is, you can't do that.
That's crazy behavior.
Sometimes I'll do it with the very beginning of movies. Also, like I watched the beginning of There Will Be Blood, which was really good. So I'll probably finish that. But I don't know. That's just me then talking about movies I watched, which I didn't. I mostly just watch movies that are, I rewatch a lot of movies that are like fictionalized versions of true things. So like Apollo 13,
right.
I probably watched like 100 times.
I love Apollo 13. I think we've talked about this.
Such a great film.
I love that movie.
Such a great film. And pretty accurate too, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because like it's incredibly like unrealistically dramatized, but all that stuff is like real. So yeah, those are all the categories I'm interested in talking about. 2024, it was a great year for gaming, as we learned at the Game Awards. I don't even know what happened at that show.
I didn't even watch the Game Awards, but sure.
Apparently, this is what I heard. Apparently, more people watched the Game Awards than watched the Super Bowl.
I believe it.
Do you?
Yeah. It's easier because it's just like on Twitch. How do you watch the Super Bowl? Fucking NBC?
Who even knows? That's a good point. Yeah, you can just click on it.
Yeah.
Watch it on your phone. Can't really do that with the Super Bowl unless you have YouTube TV.
And I mean, I fully believe that there's more people that care about video games than football.
I mean, it will really depend on how you defined cares about video games, you know?
That would be interested in watching the Game Awards.
Well, if you go by the numbers that they release, I guess obviously that's true.
Yeah.
So
case closed.
Well, happy 2024.
Yeah, Happy New Year.